my name is Lindy Cowling and welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. My email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And this is the sister video to the last one I brought out. And before I launch into this one, apologies for the sound quality. I did realise there were some issues with sound before I uploaded it to YouTube. In fact, I did debate on whether to post it up or not. There's it's a 14-minute video and there's about 3 minutes of it, probably, maybe 2.5 minutes of it, that it was so windy on the beach it completely obscures what I'm saying. But I work very much with nature and very much shamanically and with the environment, and I just figured I've sound and nature and myself have interacted many times before in the course of my work, and I felt that, well, if there is certain sound that is not being heard on this video and different sounds instead, the sounds of nature. I know sometimes nature can break up things in the energy field, clear things in the energy field, and I thought, well, maybe it's just because it's a windy day, or maybe it's because that sound and those elements were meant to be heard and felt on camera. So I did debate, but I put it up there. But I can easily, if there's interest or demand for it, I can go over some of the information that I said in that video again. In fact, I'll do a little bit of that now at the beginning of this one. So the last video I brought out was when soul contracts or old soul contracts are detrimental, and this one is when soul contracts or old soul contracts are beneficial. So when I was talking in the last video about detrimental, I was talking in respect of when an agreement, a marriage, I'm talking in past lives or previous timelines, when a marriage, a connection, a contract, an agreement, a ritual, a ceremony, an agreement on the level of the soul, events, experiences, an interplay between characters, an interplay between souls, plays out in that timeline. But also, instead of playing out on that timeline and then, you know, that's that, end of that chapter, throwbacks to that or bleed-throughs to that are repeating in this time and affecting the actual emotions, feelings, behaviour and prognosis of the person in this timeline due to the promises made in effectively another life. And I was using simple examples of that, how it, you know, can play out and be seen in the energy field, things that have happened before, and how it can be repeated and how it can, you know, kind of disempower people and stop them moving forward effectively if that's in the way back in their unconscious or subconscious mind, or there's a cellular memory of it in the energy field. So I was talking just briefly about that, but now I'm going to talk on the other end of the spectrum, where the soul contracts, soul connections, soul agreements can be very beneficial. Now, there's an overlap here because you can have a soul contract or a soul agreement, say, where you've connected with that person before in another timeline, or we'll call it past lives again, just for simplicity. And then there's an agreement between the two of you, or more than two. You can have these contractual agreements with more than two, you know, more than just one other person. At a certain time in your timeline, they're going to drop in again, and they're going to help you. They're going to help you open up, or they're going to help you grow. They're going to help you evolve. They're going to help you move forward, and people can come in this way in very many different forms. It's not only just romantically, and I'll go into the great love and the romantic side of it in a minute. Sometimes it can be in the form of friendship. It can be in the form of someone rebooting things, helping you move forward. speeding up your evolutionary process. And it's a two-way street. You know, you would be doing the same for other people. It's not they just come in and do this for you, you know, you do that for them as well. And of course these are very beneficial, and they're called, you know, it's termed in spirituality and in light worker industry and that kind of thing, they're termed as contracts because in a way I guess that's the only language we have for them. It's almost like an agreement or a promise, an arrangement, you know, maybe before you even come in, before you even incarnate, you know, okay, I'll come in at this time. If you get in trouble around about this time, or when this happens in your timeline, I'm going to come in then and give you the opportunity to do this. And sometimes you can meet these people and it means you do a slight turn to the left instead of a slight turn to the right, which of course alters your entire timeline. Whereas in the other video, a slight turn to the left or right may have been detrimental because you've got caught in old contracts that no longer are valid. And then the first thing you're going to say to me is, well, why are they still running if they're not valid, Lindy? Because people get stuck, or they reinforce them with their own belief systems, or they don't know that they're running under subconscious there. And with the energy attributed to it and the thought forms attributed to it, that the systems or the patterns or the programming keeps running. When it's served its purpose and then become detrimental. But with the beneficial side of it, these people come in and we come into their lives, and it can serve all these purposes. And you know, sometimes it's not just for that one experience of the soul. Sometimes it's from multiple experiences of the soul. You know, agreements where, okay, I'll pop into your timeline at so-and-so point, and I'll pop into yours at so-and-so point. Or sometimes it's just for one experience, okay, for simplicity, one lifetime, you know, where this can happen. So if we pay attention to the great love side of it, a really great love, a profound soul love, so, you know, soulmate, ascensionary soulmate, twin flame union, you know, real great love, where there is the knowing of one another in soul, the experience of one another in soul, the knowing of one another in spirit, the experience of one another in spirit, and where that's going on. There again, it goes beyond. Well, there are two layers to this really. You have it going beyond the level of just contracts in a way. Twin Flame Union obviously are a humanitarian service, you know, template for the redefinition of relationship paradigm on the planet. So it's not just about them. So that's act of service orientated anyway, but there is this immense, beautiful, I could only term it as great love between them when there is that recognition, when they're both in recognition. It's you know, an amazing kind of like connection, and that's beyond the level of just a contract. That's bigger than that. It's just huge actually, because it's an agreement for the whole, in a way, for the whole soul. The soul family is involved. It's an agreement, a humanitarian agreement, to come in at a specific time and not only do the best possible for the soul and the soul groups involved in that, but the ripples out as the act of service for humanity. So it's well beyond a contractual agreement. It's much bigger than that. If we backtrack in that, soul connections that come in, say a soul connection comes into this timeline and they're having an experience of one another, and they're growing and they're evolving and they're opening up, and it's had a catalyst effect on them. They can also have had huge, great benefits to themselves personally, but also when they've met in this capacity, they can, you know, be beneficial for everybody around them, you know, the family around them, the village around them, the town around them, everybody around them, because when a soul contract is working to its very, very best, everybody benefits from that. Not just the souls or the soul involved in that, but everybody else around that. And sometimes these, if it's a great love, when I'm talking about something like, for example, twin flame union, they may have interacted as a whole multidimensional soul, the whole recorded history of the soul. There may have been interactions in the entire recorded history of the soul, in all the timelines, in all the dimensions, where they have had interactions, if you like, or situations or experiences or agreements between themselves. Then in those points in time, we'll say, even though everything is now, where it wasn't really about being active service for everyone else at that point. They were going through the multidimensional experience, and they may have had a contractual agreement with each other in that timeline. Look, let me make it simple, because I don't want to get tangled up here and then tangle you up. So 1930s Boston may have been in agreement to experience that life, to be around each other in that life, to be inseparable in that life, to be a bit like the tragedy of the Romeo and Juliet polarization in that life, never to serve as a humanitarian act of service, much more about the growth of the soul, experience of the soul, the multidimensional experience, always destined to come in around each other at that time and experience it that way. Same aspects of soul, if you like, same overall recorded history of the multidimensional soul, if you like, here in 2016, experiencing in a timeline a whole different ball game, because I'll call it contractual, but it's bigger than that, especially for something like twin flame union. It's much bigger than contractual, but I'll use that language. Contractually agreed, because the soul had that potential at that state of evolution to act as an act of service. So the commitment was to commit 100% to oneself, truth to oneself, and therefore put that out to humanity. Now the flip side of that is you're going to say to me, well, okay, what if twin flame union, for example, messed this up? What if a soul connection that was not just twin flame union, but we'll use that one for example, but so another soul connection that were coming in, they agreed to come in now around, 2010, 2015, whatever, 2016, and they agreed to come around each other now because they were going to do some humanitarian thing or creative thing or act of service for humanity, and they didn't do it, or one or both of them didn't do it, or one of them messed up and the other one went forward. And the answer to that is, sometimes this happens. The best, there's a saying, the best laid plans, and what the soul does, or the people doing that situation, is basically they make the best of it. They make the best of it. They try and honour the contract by being the truth of who they are and do the best that they can. Again, you could say to me, well, if it's something as significant as that, how, and as beneficial as that, as beneficial to the people involved and the families and the soul groups and the overall picture in humanity, how does that happen? And I think you just need to look back over the last 139 videos that I've brought out to understand how that happens. Multitude of reasons. Multitude outside of the connection itself, that's negative and positive. Sometimes within the connection, that ghastly old adage, people's own free will, which actually I'm beginning to believe far less in free will, because most people think that they have free will, and in fact most of the decisions they make are dictated by life situations, events around them, the society they live in, the family, the close connections, who's manipulating them, who's not, judgments, belief systems, and a multitude of other things. So how much someone's actual pure free will is exercised on this planet is questionable. I think it's a small minority of people that actually are clear enough in their energy field where they make decisions that are not ultimately subconsciously or unconsciously dictated by other things beneath the surface that isn't even theirs. So I've deviated a bit. Some of these connections, soul contracts, can be fantastic. And just as I mentioned in the other video, where you can have, you know, things in the energy field and thought forms and specific points at times and junctures where this stuff is there. And there I was using the analogy of it being detrimental. Here you can have the same kind of thing but positively, where you get further than and do more than you would had you not been brought into play around this person or these individuals again, you know, because you can have contracts again or agreements, if you like, with more than one person. This I'm going to talk, you know, deviating a little bit before I wrap this up because it's going on longer than I intended. With the contract things, in the energy that we're now stepping into as a natural evolution on this planet, and as a natural evolution within us, these contracts, and that the word contract is a very heavy word. If you when I feel that word, it's like heavy, isn't it? I truly feel that these contracts as such won't really exist in the same way, because as people evolve to a state of consciousness where they're in new energy, and I know because I've seen this, and I very much act as a bridge between the old energy and the new energy at the moment. That's part of what I do as a facilitator at the moment. But in new energy, there isn't that contractual feel to it, that it doesn't seem to exist there. Once there's a state of evolution where you kind of go beyond that, it's much more complementary. It's not affected by any of this stuff or the belief systems or the heaviness or the baggage. It's a complementary choice on the part of spirit and choice on the part of soul to be with many people around you in friendship, in partnership, I mean in work, in soul family, or you know, to be with someone in a romantic, loving, sacred connection, sacred partnership. It's very much in squeaky clean new energy. It's very much, it's all clean, it's clear. So it's very much of choice, and it's very much choosing. Now that really is the true meaning of free will. That really is the new energy, a demonstration of free will, because you are at that point in your evolution able to choose 100% knowing, not thinking, not believing, knowing that you're choosing from that point of consciousness, from the knowing. You're choosing because you know it's not contaminated in a way or affected by anything else outside of you. And that actually is the true meaning of free will. Mankind, humanity, haven't really understood the concept of free will, and we haven't really exercised free will on this planet for hundreds of years, if not longer, but we just didn't realise it. So I'm going to wrap that up here because it's gone on much longer than I intended, and I hope I've sort of clarified that there a little bit, and I hope you found it interesting. On that note, I will love you and leave you. I'm on a roll at the moment. There's about 4 videos buzzing around in my head that just all came this morning. I mean, again, I could be on camera a lot of the time, but I have to limit this. Obviously, I have other things to do, other things to deal with. And although I love doing the YouTubes, it's a service that I give my time of and my energy freely, and have done so for quite some time now, so I have to balance that in with everything else, but it's something that I'm enjoying doing and I love doing, and people seem to get a lot of benefit from it, not just from the information. I think that's only a small part of it actually. I feel what they benefit from is the vibration, really, which activates or stirs up or reminds them of their own vibration. You know, it's that resonance. On that note, I will love you and leave you. I've waffled long enough. Take care. I will probably bring some more videos out this week. We'll see how it goes, but I've got 3 or 4 in the back of my mind, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, thank you for watching, guys.